That's a tap here, CT, with my man DJ here for your weekly dose, weekly roundup. UFC, boxing, combat sports. This is the place to be. DJ, how are you feeling?
We're good. We're good. How are you, CT?
I'm great.
Hey, third episode in a row where we've been doing this in person. So pretty excited to be here. Off of another big weekend filled with various fights and boxing, UFC, all these kind of things.
Yep.
A lot of updates that came our way. So we're planning to dig into as much of that as possible. You gotta pardon my voice because I'm a bit under the weather, but we'll get through this.
Yeah. So let's hit on some boxing first.
Yeah,
and then we'll talk about the UFC, recapping the weekend. But in the boxing world, we had KSI and all in the news for things we don't normally see. Something that may be fitting for UFC.
Oh yeah, well, what an interesting event that was, because obviously, this whole exhibition boxing, this whole crossover boxing, these YouTubers coming into boxing, it's a big thing at the moment. It's very current, very relevant, and in that sort of universe, we had KSI, fighting that Misfits card, Fits 07, I believe.
Yep.
And obviously the two big players in this whole the sort of YouTube boxing is Jake Paul and KSI. So whenever these two fight, there's a lot of interest that gets generated.
Yep.
And so we saw KSI take on Fournier, right? I mean, that was a main event. Right, like obviously he's fighting someone who's got legitimate boxing experience, right? We saw this fight end in a very controversial second round stoppage, TKO, right? But then, obviously now that we've seen it multiple times on social media, the replays revealed that it was an elbow, right? Now, what were your thoughts? Yeah, it was a good one, man. It was an MMA move, right?
Yeah, one of those things when I first saw the KO, it was from a different angle, DJ, and it looked like it was a real KO.
Yeah.
And then later in the day, I was just scrolling.
Yeah.
The evening and past and overseas in the US,
Yeah.
the video of the clear angle of a clear forearm square on the jaw.
Yeah.
And what do you tell us? What's the latest on what's happening from the Fournier side? Because KSI didn't seem to be phased. He was copying heat. And he just said, "Oh, I worked so hard for this." And
yeah, absolutely. I think since then, so the latest is that Fournier's team has appealed. And looking at getting this overturned to a no contest. Yeah. Right. Now KSI since then, as recently as today, spoken to Awani and sort of come out and said acknowledged the elbow. He said, look, in that moment he didn't feel like it was, and he will accept a no contest if that is what the outcome is. He is quite pretty disappointed that the sort of the fight camp and everything that was put into it has been taken away, because according to him he was obviously winning the fight. I mean, yes, he had a good round one, but it's such a short span of time in a fight to sort of make that decision as to who's winning. We've seen comebacks and all that. So as it stands, I feel like either they'll end up doing a rematch, right? But it seems like KSI set his eyes on one Mr. Tommy Fury, right? Because he seems to be like this, the sort of the conduit between the real boxing world and the YouTube boxing world. But seeing some of the skills of these guys, I mean, they're quite good. They're quite up there. So, it was a bit of a tussle afterwards with Tommy Fury.
Yeah. What do you think should happen now then, given the info you just mentioned about the appeal? Do you think that's the right thing?
I think it's fair for it to be overturned. At the end of the day, it was a clear elbow, and this is boxing, not MMA.
Yeah.
Right. So it's just
so just fight again.
Yeah. Correct. Yeah. Do the fight again.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm confused why there were no reviews. There's no reviews available for these kind of things. Like, and especially in the fight game, we see, sometimes in how quickly things transpire. So having the aid of replays helps. Right, and more sports are adapting it. But having said that, also, when you cop an elbow like that, it's obviously an illegal blow. How much does that compromise you as a fighter to carry on as well, right?
Yeah.
So you got to consider that too. Saying, okay, fine, they reviewed it. Okay, well, it was an elbow, so it's not a stoppage. All right, you recover for 5 minutes and you can come back and continue the fight. But is that 5 minutes enough to recover, or would they ever recover on the day, to be able to fight? Because it'll change the course of the fight, I'm pretty sure. But I think, look, DQ would be the right decision.
Yeah.
Not DQ, sorry, a no
No
contest.
contest.
Yeah, because it wasn't intentional. I don't think it was intentional. I think, do you agree that it was not intentional?
Yeah,
Yeah.
100%. Yeah, he was just close quarters, tried to hook.
Yeah,
And
yeah, that was it, and that was just,
40,
yeah, and I think he was coming in for the clinch, and then sort of caught him with that elbow. Well, it is what it is, but yeah, look, let's do a no contest, and maybe ideally run it back, but given how much interest this Tommy Fury fight is generating, I just feel like KSI will be more inclined to sort of go towards that Tommy Fury part, you know what I mean? But man, what a drama afterwards in the ring. Did you catch any of that action?
A little bit.
Yeah.
A little bit. What were your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, look, it was just cool. I mean, I thought like after Jake Paul, Tommy Fury was going to go on and take on some serious contenders. But again, look, straight after that fight, there was that back and forth. This is a Tommy Fury fight with Jake Paul. There was a lot of back and forth with KSI online, and you know, even Tommy Fury and his dad were quite passionate about if KSI wants to fight, we can make that fight happen. And Tommy Fury even went to the extent of saying, well, you know, he's an easier fight than Jake Paul. So very interesting, right? I think that's the fight they'll try and push to make. Obviously, it's a win-win for all parties, right? It's a big money fight, creates a lot of excitement, garners a lot of attention, a lot of views, right? That translates to money. And then Tommy Fury, obviously, he'd like to ride on this, you know, he's getting the same amount of money, if not more, fighting these guys. So, you know, he's in a good spot there. I did feel like some of it was forced. I mean, did you feel like some of it was forced? Like what happened afterwards? Like, I mean, to build that fight, there was just a lot of yelling and a lot of pushing and shoving, and like, I just don't know how much, you know, if that was pre-planned. It kind of was like a little bit of a WWE scenario. So yeah,
bit of inexperience all over, I think.
Yeah,
you know, obviously these guys are profiting well, handsomely.
Exactly. Yeah.
So but I think as they're fighting does the talking, then more eyes. I think that's the best way. My opinion as a fight fan. Your fights do the talking. If you fight exciting, people want to tune in.
Yeah, absolutely.
They don't always tune in just for the back and forth.
Yeah, you know? You just got to back it up. You know what I mean? Like we'll talk about it when we talk about the UFC segment. But one of the fighters who's backing it up is Garry. You know, we'll talk more about that. But yeah, likewise, you know. So it's two UK fighters as well. Like you got KSI from the UK, and you got Tommy Fury as well. So there's a lot of buy-in there from that market. But hey, let me ask you this. Which fight would you prefer to watch? Jake Paul versus KSI or Tommy Fury versus KSI?
That's tough because I was actually about to say, you know, we heard rumours now this week about a Fury Paul. Sorry, not a Fury Paul, KSI Paul in February 24. But now obviously a Fury's caught in the middle. But look, I mean, I'm not the biggest fan of KSI right now. Yeah. Anything with Fury and anything with Paul. Yeah. I'm going to be interested. Yeah. Yeah. So, but who would you rather see fight KSI? Jake Paul or Fury? I'd rather see Paul. Jake Paul and Fury. Yeah. Because I mean, that's sort of like the Tyson Fury and the Usyk of the YouTube world, right? Yeah. You got these two guys who are claiming to be the best in what they do. And they don't just now everyone was. I mean, they're doing the right thing, right? They're creating that excitement. Yeah. Everyone's slowly starting to ask for that fight. The more the demand, the more the money they make. So I think they're just smart. I wouldn't even be surprised once that fight takes place, which I'm pretty sure will take place. They'll, you know, post fight, they'll be like, you know, the closest of friends. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, let's not forget Logan Paul and KSI fought. That's right. Let's not forget. Look at them, the business partners now, right? Yeah. So I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if, you know, they're both working together and being the masterminds of creating more appetite for the fight. And so you agree? You want to see the same? I would like to see the Paul KSI fight. I mean, skill wise as well, they seem to be the same, and that's what we want to see, right? But yeah, look, but I do feel the Fury KSI fight will happen first. Yeah. And also to your point about KSI and Paul potentially fighting in February, that actually happened after all this. This all happened in the Helwani show when he was read a message from Jake Paul's manager about, you know, an offer about, you know, sort of no registration clause and a different weight class or winner takes it all. And he said, look, and then they said, oh, this is for February. Yeah. So, but KSI seemed to, you know, indicate that was too long of a wait. Yeah. Because, you know, but I mean, it might line up, right? Like, you know, think of it. If Jake Paul and Nate Diaz fight in August, what if we have KSI and Tommy Fury fighting about
around September, October, right? That kind of lines up that February fight, right?
Yeah.
But they got to win as well. Like, no easy task for either one of them. Paul has to beat Diaz, and then KSI has to beat Fury. So no easy task. So yeah.
Yeah. Stay tuned. Boxing world continues to burn.
Yeah.
But speaking of that, big fight this weekend.
Oh yeah.
Haney versus Lomachenko, one of your favorite fighters.
Absolutely, man. Like, and especially when the best fight the best, I'm all for it. Like, I'm down. I'm ready to. I'll be there from start to finish. I'd love to see these kind of fights, high level technical fights. And look, that's what it is. Like, it's the best fight in the best. Obviously, there could be an argument made that Lomachenko's a little bit past his prime. I mean, his best work is behind him. But, he's one of those fighters who's naturally so talented and skilled, and boxing ingrained in him so much, right? Yeah. I do think that he's one of those special kind of fighters, boxers who can step in the ring and turn it on at any time, right? And then Devin the Dream Haney, man, I mean, we've had the privilege to see him live, right, at the cost of one of our own, getting beaten. But ultimately, there's no denying this guy's talent, right? He's extremely talented. For how young he is, undefeated, unified world champion, which is huge. And I think it's got the recipe for an amazing blockbuster showdown.
Legacy, yeah. This is kind of the fights that create a legacy. And question for you, DJ, is new guard versus old guard sort of coming in. Who's under the more pressure to win this fight?
I mean, they both are.
Given that Tank Davis, just recently had a statement win against Ryan. Yeah. So, could Haney be thinking like, I've got to now get the buzz going?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, as we mentioned, I think last week we were talking about this, the division these guys fight in are the most happening division in boxing, right? Yeah. So they're looking at, and it is competition, a lot of competition around, right? So I think with Tank Davis getting that victory, sort of also arguably being the next one in line to challenge for that title, right? So he'll be paying close attention to this fight, and either of these guys would try to make a statement themselves, right? Now, there's a lot to consider here. I think with Lomachenko, he's already a legend, a future Hall of Famer. There's no doubt about that, right? So in terms of he's proven a lot of things that, he doesn't have to prove anything anymore. But I think this is for legacy. I think this is his last shot at, being able to win another world title. Yeah. Right? After his shock loss to Lopez. And the reason I say shock loss is because no one was expecting him to lose. Yeah. Obviously, he suffered a loss, defeat, and then since then he's come back and secured 2 wins under his belt, right? And now we've got Haney, who's unified the belts, like not something that gets done very frequently in boxing. We notice that. He's also constantly in the loss column, right? Agreed. I think Lomachenko will probably fight more freely, I reckon, right? But in the back of his mind, he's still have that thought. This is my last shot at a title, but if I don't win it, that's it, right? So it's gonna be both are gonna have that pressure, right? Yeah. But I think being in the current crop of fighters in that division, and then looking at holding that division for a while, I'd probably expect Haney to have a little bit more pressure on him to deliver, as the champion of that division, right? Yeah. Look, either way, man, it's going to be a great fight. I'm excited. I'm excited to see Lomachenko compete for a world title. I'm excited to see Devin Haney. I mean, he's a point fight. Like he's very technical, extremely technical, right? Yeah. And he racks up points, and we know how he fights. Traditionally, Lomachenko is a very slow starter, and he picks up. Yeah. For someone like Devin Haney, fighting that style, you need to be very careful not to let the opponent run away with it. Right? That's kind of what happened with Teofimo Lopez, right? Yeah. I mean, I personally thought Lomachenko did enough to win towards the end by the end of it, because he came back very strong towards the later rounds. But you never know with this, and that's a risk you run when you start slow and when you lose a few rounds in the beginning. It sets the precedence, and puts a lot of pressure on you.
Big time. I agree with everything you said. I think I could see this one going fiercely competitive, but going the distance.
Absolutely.
But we had the privilege of seeing Haney live, and seeing, admiring how good he is, how technical, how precise, how quick, and it's tough. George Cambos couldn't lay a glove on him.
Twice, not once, but twice.
Obviously, expect Loma to lay more on him, but I think prediction.
You're going to dream, are you?
Yeah, I think I might go Devon. I'm going to go Devon the Dream. I've seen him live. He's younger. He's peak of his game, but I'm not here to discredit anything Loma's done. I think he definitely has it in him to win a decision, but I favour Haney. What about you?
Absolutely, man. I mean, look, stats suggest obviously Haney is more favoured, younger fighter. Fighting tough competition as well. Credit to him, man, for calling out the toughest challenges. I don't think many people would call out Lomachenko, right? Having said that, look, I'm going to go with Lomachenko. I agree with everything you said. I agree with the decision. It's going to be a decision.
Nice.
Man, just for old time's sake, I'm just going to go with Lomachenko.
KO?
No, it's going to be a decision, I believe. I don't think it's going to be a knockout. Hey, man, I know we spoke a lot about sort of their attributes and sort of, Lomachenko's footwork and how nimble he is, agility, sleekness. We're also going to talk about Devin Haney's jab. He's also extreme. He reminds me a lot of Floyd Mayweather, the way he fights, his defense. He's a very, he's very defensive as well, and it's very hard to hit. Right? So you find it, as you said, Cambosis found it really hard to hit him. That's because of how good his defense is, right? And I think that's going to play a big part. But man, trust me, for Haney, it's going to be a story of his jab. I reckon. Even in the Cambosis fight, it was it's a lightning quick jab, and then he just racks up those points, right? And you can't get in because the jab is so sharp. You gotta, and I'm going to assume that Haney's going to have the reach advantage here. So if you're fighting the Loma fighter, you're going to have trouble getting in to be able to land your own shots.
You'd be tough to beat. I think, you said it. Loma's got to get on the inside and try to do some hurt damage. And avoid the jab. But maybe the experience. Maybe I'm underestimating Loma's experience. There's something to be said for game planning and wisdom and all of those things that play a part. Being in the ring more. So we'll see, like I said, old guard versus new guard.
New guard,
Let's see. Can't wait. And we split our predictions on that. We'll talk about it again in the weekly roundup next week. But before we wrap up, we're going to talk about MMA, combat sports, the UFC fight night over the weekend. What did you think of it? What were your takeaways?
Man, great card. I think it was a UFC on ABC. They usually put up some stacked cards for that, for fight nights. We've noticed that in the past as well. Obviously headlined by a main event. So if I were to start from the top, man, Jailton Almeida. How impressive is this guy? There's a lot. This chart is already out in social media, so I'm just going to reiterate that. Is that his dominance and the numbers suggest in a very similar to Khamzat Chimaev, right? But for some reason the hype is not as much as what we saw with Khamzat. I mean, we got to think of the time that Khamzat came into the scene was when it was lockdown. There was no other sport. The whole world was watching UFC, and this guy fights back to back in a week, right? So, but having said that, man, obviously we haven't seen him tested on the feet yet. Jailton Almeida, that is. But again, he went in with a kickboxer. Right? He nullified. Stuck to his game plan, got him down, controlled him, advanced position, and then got the finish, right? And it was slick, it was smooth. Cool. It seemed like it was, for me, it was really surprising is going against Jairzinho Rozenstruik, right? He's tried and tested in the UFC, right? He's fought all the big names from Francis Ngannou to you name it. Right. So for him to do that to Jairzinho Rozenstruik, that's huge, because let's not forget, yes, he's undefeated, but he's also quite new. He came in through the Dana White's Contender Series, so he's definitely a force to be reckoned with. in that heavyweight division. And I mean, obviously, we'll see his rankings rise, right? But man, a very, very, very bright prospect.
Yeah, big time. New guard entering the scene, and we're seeing a bit of old guard, Jairzinho. You know, you suggested off air that he might get cut. Or he might be close to that.
Yeah, it's a bit disappointing because he came in with a lot of his early days were very interesting, and you know, he was racking up some scary wins. You know, he got that really last minute knockout against Alistair Overeem where he split his lip, right? All that, and then obviously the Francis Ngannou fight. Since then, I feel like he's been quite gun shy.
He was put to sleep in that one.
And then he just, I think it impacted him a lot in terms of his mentality. And then we saw him like sort of being very gun shy. You know, even when he fought Cyril Gane, I believe. So it's just not been the Jairzinho Rosenstruck we saw at the beginning. And I feel like it's only a matter of time before the UFC sort of, you know, says, look, these are not working.
Look, there's so many options for fighters now. We always talk about it, DJ. What do you like? What do you think of this suggestion? BKFC.
Oh,
big name. Jairzinho Rosenstruck.
Yeah.
Man, that guy could make a packet.
Because he's made a name in the UFC. People know him, right? I think it's not a bad thing. Like sometimes that's what you need. You just got to take a break from the UFC and just go. You know, try your luck in some other organizations. Build up your confidence, and you can come back. Look at Kevin Lee. He went out, fought in a couple of organizations, and he's back now. And you know, that's the thing. And you got the name, you can make some coin too. You know what
Pettis, Anthony Showtime Pettis. Heaps of fighters continue on. You know, have a big career.
Absolutely, man. Look, hey, we might see Jailton Almeida in Sydney. Just saying, because there's chatter that he might fight Taito Iwasa. In Sydney, which will be a banger of a fight, right? Or, you know, there's also chatter about him fighting Blades. Right?
Like it.
I mean, if you want to fast track this guy, get him to fight Cyril Gane, because, you know, he's not obviously, you know, the best known for his grappling. We saw what John Jones did, saw what Ngannou did,
he's not gun shy.
And Almeida is no joke on the ground, right? Like, but hey man, give me Almeida and Sergey. Might be too quick to get Almeida up there.
True.
But look, you never know, right? Like, because once we got to see what happens at MSG. Are they making this Stipe Jones fight? If that happens, then like, obviously what's going to happen after that? Is it going to be, because odds are neither one of those guys will, if say John Jones vacates the title, I think it's a safe bet that neither one of those guys will fight for a title again. So whoever's going to fight for the vacant title will be two fresh contenders, right? And I think Cyril Gane's had enough shots at the title. He might not get that straight away. So it's going to be among a few of the top contenders, right? So we've got to see how things play out, like in Dana White's own words. We'll see how it plays out.
I like it. Co-main was big.
Johnny Walker against Anthony Lionheart Smith. Man, Lionheart Smith's a veteran of the sport. Like, we see him go through phases where he racks up win streaks and then all of a sudden he's a skid, which seems to be now. And obviously, he's plagued with injuries too. We had Johnny Walker, obviously big win for him in terms of name value. This is like a very high ranked opponent. I think
2 in a row now. I think, or 3 is it for Johnny?
3 in a row, with the last 2 being really notable names.
His longest streak.
Because he beat Paul Craig last time. And then this time it's Anthony Smith. It's a way bigger name. And like, look, at the end of the day though, I do feel, and look, very rarely this happens, and you know, it has happened in the past multiple times. But it's where a fighter wins but their stock goes down. I can't help but feel that's what happened here. So when I was watching the fight, like, I remember towards the end of the first round and then towards the end of the third round, especially the end of the third round, there was like about 50 seconds to go, 50 seconds to a minute, and Anthony Smith was clearly compromised, and he was wobbled, and he was backing up against the cage, covering up. And all I saw was like Johnny Walker just stand there. Like, I don't know if he was thinking he's playing possum and he was being careful, which, I mean, obviously you've got to respect someone like Anthony Smith who's as skilled and as experienced. But
good point.
I just feel like he missed the point in not pressing that action, right? Because, you know, there was a little bit of booing from the crowd towards the end as well. It was, I just felt, especially in that third round, the finish was there. Right. You know, look, I mean, we're not the fighters in the cage. We don't know what's going on, the decisions they're making. So obviously all respect to them. But I think in a game where entertainment plays a big part, and Johnny Walker's known for that, right?
Yeah.
He's known for exciting, entertaining knockouts. And I feel like he had that opportunity and he fumbled it because it was there. Knock him out, and that just skyrockets you further. It's not the case, unfortunately. But like Dana White said, it's a win against his name, boosts his rankings, and we'll see what's next. So yeah, I reckon
great point.
you know, him against either someone in the top 5 now, right? Ankalaev. He could welcome Pereira into the light heavyweight division.
He can.
There's Blachowicz. Hey, there's a name that hasn't fought in a while, and I'd love to see that matchup. Rakic versus Johnny Walker, you know. So yeah, there's a few things.
Yeah, a lot of possibilities. Good points. Agreed. Maybe like the possum point was good. You made about we've seen a lot. Obviously,
we've seen that a lot.
With Izzy.
Yeah.
Is it something worth considering where fighters don't think about the kick enough as a finisher? Like,
I mean,
you need to go in close for the punch finish, and you won't leave yourself open.
Yeah.
But if a guy's there, dazed or up against the cage, would you look at a kick?
I think, look, you make that decision based on the openings, your fight IQ, and sort of your understanding of the situation, right? I mean, from the outside, as viewers, when we look at it, we can see sort of Anthony Smith's compromise. He's not, even if he were to return fire, it's not going to be as potent as when he would have been at the start of the fight. So I think it is a risk worth taking, because you can mitigate that risk even if you take one on the chin. I feel like it's not going to have that knockout, blow. But we see this time and time again when we see people go through devastating knockouts, right? We had Jamal Hill put Johnny Walker out, in devastating fashion. So so sometimes you do get gun shy, and those things come back to haunt you, right? You're cautious, you're wary, because you know what's happened. You've been blacked out, and you wake up not knowing what's going on, right? Yeah. So for you as a fighter, you got that in the back of your mind too. Yes, entertainment is important, but I think Johnny Walker spoke about this a lot leading up to the fight. Is that I want to balance my aggression with smart fighting. And look, 80% of the fight, he was very smart. He was investing in those kicks. Those calf kicks were money. And he was clearly winning. There was no doubt about that. It was a 3-0 win. No doubt about that. Yeah. There was at no point was there any threat from Anthony Smith to Johnny Walker, right? It's just that I think the criticism that we're seeing is more from, it was there, it was in front of you, the finish was there, why not finish the fight? Yeah. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
That was the only thing.
Yeah.
It was a weird exchange in the middle of that fight in round 2. Where Anthony Smith starts talking about you attacked my family. Johnny Walker seemed very confused, like, I don't even know what that is. I don't think Anthony Smith's come out and...
Trash talking, going to another level, man. I mean, get it, Kevin Holly in.
I just feel like, I know, we'll wait for Anthony Smith to come out and clarify it. I think he's just, acknowledged the loss, and obviously congratulated
Johnny.
Johnny.
Come on the show, Anthony Smith, and we can get some things clarified on the radar. Yeah. But it was a good card overall. Anything else?
Man, Ian Garry. How do we not mention Ian Garry? He was just it's very, very reminiscent of Conor McGregor's rise, right? And not as
another Kavanagh fighter?
No, he's not. No, he's not. He fights out of He's actually he travels a lot, like to different gyms. But currently he's fighting out of they changed their name, Killcliff MMA.
Oh, okay.
Gilbert Burns, Michael Chandler. You know what I mean? They all are. But now they're saying he's going to go to Brazil to learn jiu-jitsu. And then guess what? He later in the year, he wants to come to New Zealand and go to Izzy's gym
City
to learn
City
kickboxing, CKB, to learn, do some work there. Like, I mean, could you imagine? Like, I mean, that's good. He's willing to learn, right? And man, like, he kind of predicted this knockout, and he kind of delivered. First person to knock out D-Rod. I think it was good energy about him throughout the whole fight week. I think he's shining under the lights. Like he's enjoying the spotlight, right? And I think, look, he's probably eventually going to get to
rising star.
Yeah, he's going to get top 10 now, right? Or top 15, sorry. And then you'll called out Neil Magny. I like that call out, right? You beat Neil Magny, you're more likely to get in the top 10. And then you're looking at someone like Hands of Steel or someone, so
Jeff Hands of Steel,
Neil. Sorry, man. Definitely. I wanted to mention Ian Garry. What else was there in that card?
Big time.
Yeah. That was it, I think. Yeah.
And anything else? Comes to our mind.
Yeah.
We hit on, but We obviously got the pay-per-view coming up soon.
Yep.
As well.
Canada.
Which we'll talk about
289.
probably in next week's
Yep.
wrap. So make sure to tune in, like, subscribe. But also something else happened in Australian boxing.
Oh yeah.
That we cannot not talk about.
Give us the whole rundown, CT.
The Maloney
Yep.
brother, or one half of the Maloney brothers,
Yeah.
is a champion.
Yeah.
Became a champion, and is probably a ranked. I don't know if he surpassed Tim Tszyu.
Yeah.
In terms of the world rankings, but
They're not in the same division, are they?
not in the same division. But what I mean is sort of like in terms of like pound for pound.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Like I mean,
like he's a champion, so
and absolutely much credit to him. I mean, to represent your country and to be able to win a championship in a boxing in a sport so brutal as boxing, and with so much competition, and he's obviously a lighter fighter. So obviously these lighter divisions are filled with competition. So man, very exciting times. Obviously, we saw him fight as well when we were at the Haney fight. Yeah, the undercard. So
Cambosis.
Great fighter, very technical as well. So man, congrats to Maloney.
Yeah, it seemed to be obviously a bit of controversy as to whether he was deserving to win, and when decision. Yeah. But consensus say it was pretty clear. Yeah. But he was fighting obviously against a very popular fighter as well. But now his younger brother, the lighter one, cruiserweight, I believe, is going to be then trying.
So this is the elder brother.
Yeah, this was elder, I think. Or the brother in the heavier division, and then the one that's about to fight is a cruiserweight. Okay. I believe, Yeah,
absolutely. I'll definitely give that a rewatch because I'd love to see that fight. We also had Rolly Romero fight as well last weekend. Okay. Rolly Romero fought, I think, Barroso, the older fighter. Yeah. Very controversial stoppage. Extremely controversial. It was just, and he had Romero hurt. Right? He had him down. He put him down, and then interesting times in boxing. It was a controversial weekend for boxing.
It was.
Anything else, CD?
Just another Australian story. Tim Tszyu. Tim Tszyu, a champion now. Also, Tim Tszyu. Tim
so is he
Tszyu.
fighting someone?
He's locked in. He's locked in to fight in Gold Coast.
Oh, sweet.
Yeah.
Hey, we might make the trip up there.
Yeah.
I love watching Tim Tszyu.
Coming
very
up,
technical.
So Australian boxing just goes from strength to strength.
Australian combat sport, right?
Well, obviously Cambosis, we're waiting on.
Yes, Cambosis is locked in to fight the Brit. I can't remember his name.
Locked in?
Yeah, he's locked in to fight the Brit. Like I think in July maybe. We'll talk more about it in our next episode. Yeah. I'll do a little bit more digging on that, but he's definitely locked in from what I recall. Yeah. Perfect. Hey, but also KSI dropped a nugget because he's like, apparently from what he's hearing, the heavyweight tournaments actually they're working on trying to make it happen. So man, that's exciting. Yeah, I think it's gonna happen. Hey, what do you think of going to Dubai? Do you want to go to Dubai, man? I'll be down for it. Yeah, I'm there. That's a tap. Let's get on the media list. Absolutely. But everyone, great another week of perfect combat sports. Tune in again next week for the weekly dust up, roundup, CT and DJ, same place, same channel. This is a wrap. Thanks, guys, and catch you later. On another episode.